Hey, welcome back. It's May 26th, and I want to give you my roundup of today's news and developments on Bitcoin and crypto, which I find very interesting. The first of which is to do with the fact that Bitcoin has rebounded above 109k, eyeing now on its new all-time high in reaction to Trump's sudden retraction decision over its initial 50% tariff on the EU by June the 1st. Now it's been forced to back down from that and reduce it down to a measly 20% until July 9th. So what does this tell us? That despite of the shenanigans and the arbitrary policy decisions from these officials, you can't really take them seriously, and they've completely lost credibility and hope for the rest of their electorate and citizens. So all the more reason why you need to move away from the lies, the trade fight, the manipulations, the shenanigans, the black swan events, the macro, the entropy into Bitcoin as the ultimate truth network. So that is my advice, to at least part some of your fiat wealth into Bitcoin and store into long term. So that's news number one. And move on to news number two, which is to do with Robert Kiyosaki, who is a renowned, popular financial educator and author of The Rich Dad, Poor Dad, has sent some rather interesting predictions, modest predictions, on Bitcoin price of $1 million by 2035, which is in stark contrast of ARK Invest Cathy Wood's prediction, which is more optimistic, of $1.5 million by 2030. So a little bit sooner than Roberts. So what is the bottom line here? It's mainly driven by, as we all know, the macro fears, the fiat inflation, the manipulation, and institutional demand that's certainly driving up the bullish sentiment on the long-term forecast. Move on to the next piece of news. The crypto ETPs, the exchange traded products, have seen a soaring whopping $3.3 billion of weekly net new inflows, which topped the 10.8 billion year to date. Now this has come due to increasing tides or rise of global crypto investment products, which has posted another record last week. Bitcoin, which has actually encountered the majority of those inflows, have led almost a $3 billion of net new inflows last week alone. So really, it just is another bullish sentiment, that investing in crypto and particularly in Bitcoin is indeed the right investment decision that anyone can make, and no one can no longer avoid and ignore. The next piece of news is a rather unfortunate news to do with Coinbase. As we all know, is one of the global crypto exchanges platforms out there, has just faced another data breach incident, a lawsuit which has claimed stock drop damages. Now, this is really a rather alarming piece of news, because I have always advocated in my videos in my channel, which is all the more reason why you'll subscribe, which for me the top risk from a crypto investment standpoint is counterparty risk. Now, as we all know, Coinbase, whether it's Coinbase, Crypto.com, Binance, these are all crypto exchanges. These are custodians of customers' digital assets on these platforms. And since anything can happen, and they're run by humans and they're run by companies, leaving aside whether they're registered securities or not, they're run by company CEOs and individuals which are susceptible to fraud, corruption, and negligence in terms of possible hacks or issues in the way they run those platforms, custody services platforms for their clients. Which is all the more reason why I've always been explaining that the current trend or tide is to move at least the majority of your held digital assets on such centralized crypto exchange platforms under a self-custody arrangement, i.e. under a cold wallet or a hardware wallet device, such as Trezor and all the rest of it. So all the more reason why you ought to take a peek at some of the videos of mine on my channel that will give you the latest tricks and tips, guide for security measures that you ought to take under consideration when it comes to safeguarding your Trezor device, your cold wallet device, which is the only ultimate effective means that we have, at least for today, to address and mitigate the counterparty risk issues that we are seeing with the likes of Coinbase. Which leads to my last piece of news of today, which is another prediction or trend around Bitcoin price expecting to soar as global bond markets break, and caused by rising bond yields signaling growing a concern about the fiscal stability and inflation, leading some investors to rightfully question now of US Treasury's traditional role as a safe haven asset, whilst Bitcoin defies conventional risk models, rising because of worsening macro conditions. Now, this makes sense because, again, I've posted another interesting video on this topic, that Bitcoin, slowly but surely, is becoming the ultimate hedge against entropy, not just against inflation, but against entropy, whether it's wars, wider geopolitical issues, not just inflationary and the excessive money printer that we're all familiar with, but entropy as a whole. And I've also posted another video in my channel which explains, for the first time in Bitcoin's history, over the new characteristic that's been born, which is decoupling itself away from TradeFi, from the macro market conditions of traditional finance, which has always been, one of the key theses or attributes or principles around Bitcoin, becoming completely immune and a parallel to what we know as fiat and traditional finance. Mainly because it's the only decentralized and truth network there is on Earth. So all the more reason why you need to start to move away from 0% allocation into a small amount of allocation of your wealth into Bitcoin, hold into the long term, because you'll be the last person standing when it comes to reaping the rewards of your courageous efforts. So that's all I have for today's episode. Hopefully you've enjoyed it. If you have, please don't forget to hit the like button, to share the video to friends and colleagues at work, and if you haven't done so already, to please subscribe to my channel, as I regularly publish some interesting videos such as these, anything to do with Bitcoin, blockchain technology, and the future of finance. So till next time.